Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Final Destination 3, released in 2006. You all know the ding-dang deal by now with these movies, and there aren't too many surprises in this threequel, which is fundamentally the same as the first two films. Thanks to a detailed premonition, a small group of people are able to avoid a tragic catastrophe, only to be hunted down by death in a certain order, falling victim to its mousetrap murders in increasingly graphic ways. Part 3 sees director James Wong and producer Glenn Morgan return to the series after their absence in Part 2. Once again, they co-wrote the screenplay together and decided to make this third film more of a standalone feature as opposed to Part 2, which was a direct sequel to the original. It still takes place in the same world as the first two and acknowledges the events that happened in them, but Part 3 doesn't have any of the same characters return. Sadly, not even William Bloodworth, and instead, Tony Todd's involvement this time through is relegated to a couple of voice acting roles. James Wong wasn't a fan of how the second movie's characters had nothing in common between them other than the disaster they avoided. So Part 3 sees a return to teenage classmates who are just graduating high school and mistakenly believe they have their whole lives ahead of them. The clairvoyant protagonist among them is Wendy Christensen, played by frequent horror actress Mary Elizabeth Winstead in her first starring role. Winstead was previously on the Kill Count for the eyeball-infatuated Black Christmas remake and the anti-fluoride prequel to The Thing, The Thing. Here, her character serves the same purpose that Alex Browning and Kimberly Corman had before her. Only in this movie, she has a trail of digital pictures to give her clues about Death's designs. As far as the franchise's signature kills go, by Final Destination 3, we've reached full-on gorehound mode. Producer Craig Perry, the only top-line talent involved in every single film of the series, was the blood and guts cheerleader responsible for the ever-increasing viscera on display. Unfortunately, even though the special effects team put together a lot of cool practical effects, it looks like most of them were covered up with CG blood. Doesn't make them any less memorable though. Oh, and hey, before we get started, I know the DVD for this movie had some kind of interactive choose their fate thing, but I don't talk about those scenes in this video because they're not canon. They're just part of a fun DVD extra. Which means no, I won't be kill counting Kimberly and Burke from Part 2, who, in one of these things, were revealed to have died in a wood chipper accident. Yeah, Craig Perry said that scene can be canon, but to me, it's not. So please don't leave comments saying I forgot to mention those scenes. Please don't leave those comments. How many people in this movie unknowingly queued up for death? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie begins at an amusement park, where the future looks to include a title card. Do you believe in fortunes? Or do you only believe in more tangible things, like the cold hard steel of this ball that looks like it should be chasing Lara Croft around? That dumb-looking ball transitions into an awesome Power Tower type ride that a group of friends are having a blast on. All except for Wendy Christensen, that is, who would rather just take pictures of all that fun for the school yearbook. I get it, Wendy, you're just proud of your high school. And why not? The swim team did have the best high dye after all. Wendy is here for McKinley High School's graduation celebration, with a friend group that consists of the usual crowd for these movies. Generically attractive and paper thin, sometimes veering into full-blown creeper territory. Kevin the Creepshotter there is played by DCOM darling Ryan Merriman, previously on the count as that totally worthless side plot character who spent all of Halloween Resurrection watching a damn live stream. Although Kevin's a sleazebagano, I will admit he's got some major ups, man. Bet he learned that shit in jig class for Luck of the Irish. Kevin is dating Wendy's friend Carrie, played by Gina Holden, who was both the pregnant waitress who got belly bursted in AVP Requiem, and the completely innocent wife character who was burned alive inside a brazen bull in Saw 3D. Fuck, I hate that movie. Carrie is planning to dump Kevin's ass after graduation, since the dude can't even go 2 minutes without gawking at other ladies like these whale-tailing early-aught hotties Ashley and Ashlyn. Ashley is played by Shaylin Simmons, who was 7 or 8 years old when she was in the It miniseries as Lori Ann, the little girl whose death was the inciting incident for the rest of that movie. And Ashlyn is played by Crystal Lowe, who was also in the Black Christmas remake alongside Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Eyeballs! While taking more yearbook pictures, Wendy runs into her stoner-looking little sister, Julie, played by a 20-year-old Amanda Crew, who would go on to star in Silicon Valley. We also meet a few other characters, like athlete Luis Romero, who's a real strong boy, and high school graduate Frankie Cheeks, whose creep star outshines even Kevin somehow. But my favorite character is the devil mascot of the Park Central roller coaster, a big old mammoth of a ride called Devil's Flight.
You can run, but you cannot hide.
Takes a real cool devil to be voiced by Tony Todd, man.
You may never return from Devil's Life.
That giant devil is actually a practical mofo made out of 2 tons of styrofoam, and it took them 6 weeks to build him. And according to production designer Mark Freeborn,
it's anatomically correct.
Whoa, Devilman's got nards! Major props to Mr. Freeborn, not only for the devil dude, but also the gothic-looking queue for Devil's Flight, which they had to build from scratch. As someone who can appreciate a good ride queue, whether it's Haunted Mansion or Mission Breakout, he did a damn good job making one that looks and feels real. Wendy's a scared of Devil's Flight, and it's not because she's a devout Catholic or anything. She's just got a bad feeling, like deja vu of the future, and also, as you'll hear many times in this movie, she's a control freak.
You know, I'm such a control freak, like, I couldn't handle that.
They say the real fear with these rides comes from the feeling of having no control.
Her boyfriend Jason there, a real nothing boy, convinces her to give the ride a chance. But due to some nonsense that only makes sense if you're reverse engineering a screenplay, the couples end up swapping partners before they take their seats on the ride, which means Wendy and Kevin are together in the back, while Jason and Carrie get seats up front. The other characters are strewn about in the back cart, with Frankie Cheeks pulling out his camera to remind us of how gross he is.
Flash me them sweet, sweet titties when we go through the loop.
Yep, pretty gross. Even grosser than old sticky gum on a ride. Yuck. The cart takes off, but there's already some fluid leaking, so, you know, that's not good. It crests the first hill, giving the riders one nice last view of the park, and after it reaches the top and the chain lets go, we're off on a magical murder ride. During the ride's first loop, Frankie's Joe Francis camera falls and triggers a mechanical breakdown on the cart that unlocks the seats and takes off some wheels. The front cart falls off and kills its passengers in a crash, while the people in the back cart hang on long enough to get deaths like a broken back due to scaffolding, or just straight falling out the cart while the thing defies statistical physics and hangs out upside down in another loop. The roller coaster disaster was filmed at 2 separate times, one at the beginning of production and the other at the very end. Principal photography for the film began at Playland, an actual amusement park in Vancouver, and their corkscrew roller coaster was used as a stand-in for Devil's Flight, although they did use computers to turn the 75-foot-high real-life coaster into the fictional 200-foot-high coaster for the movie. Using a previs program, they were able to plan all the shots they wanted to get. Then, after measuring their clearance on the coaster using a bunch of foam arms, they attached cameras with remote controls onto the coaster carts, allowing them to get dynamic and interesting shots of the characters instead of boring static shots nailed down right in front of them. And although riding a roller coaster a bunch of times may sound like a fun job to have, it quickly got old for the cast, who, over the course of 3 days, had to ride that damn thing a collective 60 times.
We have to sit on towels because our bums are so sore from sitting all day.
The second part of filming this set piece, which came at the end of production, wasn't that much easier for the cast either. Although this chunk of shooting took place inside a studio, using hydraulic coaster carts in front of a green screen, the stunt performers still got whipped all the fuck around, and the actors themselves would have to spend long periods of time hanging upside down in practical rigs.
Wow, this really sucks balls.
Although I personally think the roller coaster disaster pales in comparison to some of the others in this series, you've gotta give James Wong and the rest of the crew credit for shooting it in an innovative and exciting way. This was not an easy thing to do, and everyone deserves credit for coming together and making it happen. Wendy and Kevin managed to rock the cart back down the loop, but then Kevin gets cut in half on a wayward pipe, and Wendy is rocked out of the cart and onto the track that's, whoa, inside her eyeball. Secret People theme park, nice! One last fun fact for this sequence, the shot of Wendy falling was literally the last shot Mary Elizabeth Winstead had to do during principal photography. I think it looks like a lot of fun though. It's like one of those indoor skydiving tubes. Thankfully, the movie doesn't waste time here, and after one look at that ride gum, Wendy's sounding the alarm. She forces her way off the ride and gets everyone in the back cart evacuated, giving us more taste of asshole when it comes to these characters.
Can you please control that bitch? Damn, it's gonna crash. The hydraulics, the coaster. Man, she's just trying to get some fucking attention.
Man, characters have never been the strong point of this series, but by this movie, I actively hate them, which makes for a grueling viewing experience. It doesn't help that Lewis goes all Edward Furlong on Kevin here.
Fuck you. fucking watch.
Oh god, that blows. I will give credit to actor Texas Battle though. Not only does he have an even cooler name than Ryder King Strong, dude also runs a foundation that assists underprivileged kids in South Africa. Good on you, man. A fight breaks out and causes the ride operator to make some legally questionable decisions.
Nobody else gets off this ride!
So even though Jason pleads to be let off, he loses out to the other riders and their blitzkrieg bopping.
Dude! Let's go! Hey, whoa! Let's go!
And thus, he's stuck on the doomed roller coaster, which has gotta be real rough for Wendy to watch since she knows what's coming. As to be expected, the accident she envisioned does indeed take place. And lucky for me, this one was real easy to count. Besides Jason and Carrie, there were 5 randos on the ride, giving us 7 kills to start off with. Shit, I can even do a proper gender breakdown in this one. Neat. The last day at McKinley High is mostly a bummer, thanks to the accident and that old Wendy son of a bitch death. Wendy seems to be the only one with survivor's guilt though, since the others appear to be doing just fine, including Ashlyn and Ashley, and this Hollywood goth couple, Aaron Ulmer and Ian McKinley.
Ian McKinley. How pathetic is it that my last name is the same as my high school?
Kevin talks to Wendy and tells her that she's not alone. See, he went online and did some learning about Flight 180 and the ultimate fate of its survivors.
They died in the order they would have if they stayed on the plane. Unless someone intervened, and it skipped them.
Thanks for the rules, Kevin. See you later. Well, big gulps are a thing that characters would probably not be drinking in a movie today. But here we have the ashes slurping away at the tanning salon, which is also a place that most characters and real people probably wouldn't go today. And that's a great thing, because that's actually how I got this scar on my shoulder. As a high school senior, in 2006 actually, same year this movie came out, I stupidly went tanning for a couple of months. A weird mole popped up, I didn't get it looked at for a year, and when I finally did, the doctors said it might be melanoma, aka skin cancer. I had the mole removed along with a whole bunch of extra skin and a lymph node, and after that, I was clear of any cancer. And now you know the story of my shoulder scar. Ashlyn and Ashley aren't worried about skin cancer though, they just want to look they bronzes. So they get ready to hop inside these tanning beds while delivering dialogue that really makes me hate them.
I forgot my iPod. Sucks, bitch. Ew, Celine? Brittany? Are we like the only cool people that come here or what? Yeah.
They crank up the room's temperature in order to get comfy and give us this movie's heaping dose of gratuitous nudity, as they nakedly sing along to the Ohio Players' poorly. Destruction begins a brewing. But honestly, if they had just listened to the rules, like not bringing their drinks inside the tanning room and not fucking with the salon's equipment, none of this would be happening right now. I feel like this one's on them, not Death. During all this, Wendy's sister Julie has been trying to make her feel better, since she's a guilty mess.
I'm usually such a control freak, but I didn't do enough to stop it.
To comfort this control freak, Julie gives her a bracelet that's somehow, lucky, I guess. Wendy goes through the pictures she took at the theme park and discovers that they may be providing some clues. Ooh. The supposed clues these pictures offer are all too cryptic and ambiguous for me to get anything out of them, which is pretty much on par for this series that's all about making mountains out of molehills. In any case, the picture clues are much less clear than the focus on both of these sisters, as James Wong plays around with a split diopter shot. Fun! Since Wendy's better than me at looking for clues, she realizes that this picture of the ashes evokes fire, which makes sense, cause those babes about to burn. A powerful gust from the salon's air conditioner knocks some stuff onto the tanning beds and ends up locking the girls inside their glowy tubes. As things heat up, glass begins to crack and skin begins to boil. Ashley and Ashlyn are killed after their tanning beds both catch fire and they're cooked alive inside. This highly acclaimed and oft-mentioned kill was accomplished by having stunt performer Leslie McMichael do a burn stunt using a gel that allowed her to be aflame for up to 25 seconds. Holy crap! That is a long time to be on fire, man. And the kill is capped off with a hilarious match cut to the Ashes' twin caskets at a funeral. This movie has some real fun directing by Wong, so it's a shame that the characters suck as much as they do.
Yeah, man, these things really suck, man.
What, these characters? I know, that's what I just said. Wendy and Kevin get to talking again, and after she repeats a conversation that the audience has already heard,
Your fear is from a sense of having no control.
she says that she's been feeling an evil presence around her ever since the accident.
It's cold and terrifying.
Yeah, that's called wind, Wendy. That is literally just the wind. Pack it up, folks. We figured it out. It's wind. By time the wind dies down, Wendy's become a full-blown conspiracy nut. And holy shit, a 9/11 truther too?
See the shadow?
Well, what do these pictures have to do with us?
Dude, I don't even know, but you need to get the fuck out of there if she starts talking about steel beams. Her crazy train continues as she shows him her photos of ambiguous clues, and the heaviness of the whole thing ends up taking her to the ground.
I'm feeling a little woozy.
Wait, I'm sorry, what did she say?
I'm feeling woozy, yeah.
That's what I thought she said! Since they've already figured out that death works in a specific order, they know that Frankie Cheeks should be the next one to die. In order to take a better look at his photo and look for more clues, Wendy tells Kevin to pull the car over.
Well, it's nice to see that things haven't made you any less of a control freak.
Stop! They pull into a drive-thru and take a look at the Cheeksy picture, but they don't see anything in it other than a stuffed SpongeBob prize that isn't actually in the picture.
SpongeBob lives underwater.
It's so sad that you know that.
What? No, it isn't. Everyone knows who lives in a pineapple under the sea. All of a sudden, Death starts messing with all the electronics around them, and they end up trapped in Kevin's car while the driverless van begins hurtling down a steep Vancouver street. Such a steep road, necessary for this scene, was a tough spot to find for locations manager Danny McWilliams. And once he did, they still had to deal with the fact that the script called for a drive-thru to be at the bottom. Since a fast food place didn't already exist there, they had to make it from scratch, and it just goes to show that with the right talented people in a crew, anything is possible. Wendy and Kevin are able to get out of their car at the very last minute, but the collision they avoid sends a truck engine straight into the back of Frankie Cheeks' head, killing him in a splattery mess because I guess he had been sitting in his car right in front of them the whole time. You could have set that up a little better, movie. This kill is another excellent one that they accomplished by combining clean shots of the vehicular destruction with shots of actor Sam Easton reacting. And of course, a blood-filled dummy head that they called a splooch head. It's a good thing they were able to get the shot at all though, since their first attempt resulted in the cameras themselves getting Final Destination.
The first thing that I think most of us felt was shock because it's so unusual that anything goes wrong on those things. They've been tested 6 ways to Sunday and hardly ever anything goes wrong.
Thankfully, no one ended up getting hurt, and the end result of their efforts is some excellent gore. Wendy and Kevin study their digital pictures some more and realize that there were 2 unknown people sitting in front of them on the coaster, before they then come across the illegal upskirt that Kevin took. Yeah, you feel that shame, DCOM. But in the picture, behind those cheeks, they see Frankie Cheeks, and it looks like he's got a fan behind his head. So, turns out, the picture thing really does work for clues. They had just been looking at the wrong picture. Knowing that the jock Lewis is next in line, they look at his picture, which shows a weight coming down on his head. But there's also a sortie boy over there, so who knows what's gonna kill him. Better get down to his new college's training center to try and warn him either way. Lewis doesn't buy into their worries though, and as the testosterone increases alongside the cutting speed, Lewis declares himself above mortality. That, of course, leads to his death, after some swords cut a cable and bring a couple of weights down to sandwich his head. Try to control that weight a little better on the next rep, dude. Don't let him slam like that. This kill is probably the best example of practical effects gone to waste. They had another splooge head, this time of actor Texas Battle, and crushed it for reals with some weights. But in the movie, it looks like it's completely covered up by CG blood. It's kinda sad. After another boring crying scene, it's on to the next people on the list. That couple Aaron and Ian, who both work together in a hardware store. Hey Aaron, did you know your boyfriend's got some seriously psychopathic tendencies? That dick just killed the bird. Why do all these meatbags suck so much? Like everyone else, Aaron and Ian shoot down Wendy and Kevin with snark, and they also prove unable to help them identify the mystery couple who sat in front of them on the coaster. Ian surmises that even if their theory were true and Death did have an ordered plan, couldn't the last person on the list save everyone else by jumping the line and killing themselves?
Hey, it's gonna save 5 skipped lives.
Yeah, too bad we just saw that kind of thing not work in the previous movie. I get that these characters wouldn't know that, but you gotta give the audience something to keep them in suspense, you know? Instead, we predictably get another kill, and the setup for this one is an extra shade of rube that involves a whole bunch of shit, like a magnet stick, an off-the-chain chain, a grabby hook, a big old bukkake, a self-driving forklift, and some mighty blue. All that and a bunch of hammers eventually try to spring a couple of kills. But since Wendy was able to read this picture clue in time, and since she had a little help from some sawdust, thanks sawdust, she manages to save Ian from a bunch of wooden stakes. Erin, however, is not so lucky, and she ends up getting blown back into a nail gun that turns her into a Cenobite who went to scratch their face a little too hard. The behind the scenes on this one is simple. It's a dummy head, dummy. But that doesn't stop it from being one gnarly death, man. Wendy and Kevin realize that since she intervened to save Ian's life, Death will now be skipping him, according to Death's charter rules of Flight 180. That means the new targets are those mystery folks sitting in front of them on the cart, but without knowing who they are, shit, they might already be dead.
Well, I'm next. And then you.
Wendy takes a little desk nap, during which her sister Julie sneaks in to steal back her good luck bracelet. Upon her awakening, why, Wendy happens to see that very same bracelet around the wrist of the mystery person in the picture. Egads, the mystery person's Amanda Crew. Before heading out to warn her sister, Wendy looks at more choose-your-own-clue photographs and settles on the name McKinley as the clue to her death. As for Kevin, his picture's got a flash in his eyes, kinda like, oh my god, like a firework went off in your face. Aw, Jinx, you owe me a soda. Yeah, things about to get lit at the town of McKinley's Tricentennial Celebration Fair, where Kevin is working security. Seems dumb to me that he would still go to work at a time like this, but whatever. I'd go to work too if it meant seeing a Paul Revere reenactment. Hell yeah, history's dope. Wendy also loves history, so she races to get to the fair, avoiding all the random wolves that cross her path. Step on it, Wendy. You don't want to miss the Ben Franklin guy do his kite thing.
Now, let us hope for some lightning.
Aw, shit, you missed it.
Fuck you, Ben Franklin.
Whoa, dude, it's not that guy's fault Wendy didn't get there in time. Wendy arrives right as the lights go down for the fireworks show, and as the pops get poppin', she and Kevin try desperately to track down an annoyed and evasive Julie. Wendy sees Julie flip the thumbs out double birds, and it reminds her of Julie's picture clue. But what could that horse mean? It's probably alluding to this poor tied up horse who's getting harassed by a couple of shitbirds with firecrackers. It flees from them in terror and eventually winds up dragging Julie around by a rope around her neck? What? That chick would be dead for show. Props to Amanda Crew, too. To get this footage, they actually tied a rope around her neck, with a harness attached, of course, and dragged her across the ground. She even emphasized to them not to go easy, so it would look good in the shot. Pretty kick-ass of her, and she was in good hands with stunt coordinator JJ Maccaro, who helped direct this well-trained Liberty horse for the stunt. What a good boy. That horse drags Julie towards a harrowing death, but Kevin intervenes and cuts her free with a sword. Great, death averted. But there was another mystery person in the picture who was sitting next to Julie on the coaster. Now, which one of these two friends was it? Oh, I guess it was that one. Some random chick named Perry. How about we fly that thing at half-mast in her honor? Death moves further down its list onto Kevin and uses a weird-looking horse kick to knock him down so he can be killed by a Nope, never mind. Wendy just intervened and saved him. Wow, that's gotta be a record for the shortest time spent at the top of Death's list. And that means it's Wendy's turn to be a target. And look who's walking up to them, Ian McKinley. McKinley, as in the clue from her picture. Kevin makes a Cartarian suggestion to him.
Get the fuck out of here, McKinley!
But unlike Alex and Clear, McKinley's not going gentle into that good night. He stalks towards them and blames Wendy for Erin's death, all while the town's entire discretionary budget continues to explode in the sky. After a cocky proclamation that he's never gonna die, McKinley narrowly misses a bunch of fireworks that go off at him, but he's unable to avoid a cherry picker that falls on him and smashes him in half for a fucking brutal kill. McKinley's death was originally not as graphic, and was also pretty much the end of the movie. But when they went back to reshoot a new ending, they also took the opportunity to add some more gore here. So actor Chris Lemche donned a pair of green screen pants to help give his kill just a little more oomph. Mission accomplished. Now, if you're like me, you may be wondering how Ian McKinley wound up back on top of the list again, even though it was supposed to be Wendy's turn now. Best I could learn from the internet is that Wendy was wrong when she assumed Ian was the McKinley clue from her picture. After all, had she not intervened earlier, he wouldn't even be alive to kill her. Instead, the McKinley sign that killed Ian was supposed to kill her, but he inadvertently intervened, moving her out of that spot, and it caused Death to skip her, I guess. I think all of that is confusing and dumb, but so is most of this series. They're just making these movies to kill people, man. Like I mentioned, the movie originally ended right there, but after poor reactions from test screen audiences, they filmed a new ending 5 months after principal photography had wrapped. It takes takes place, appropriately, 5 months later, when Wendy is a college student with college friends riding on the subway to meet their college ends. She starts getting the willies, which only willify more after she notices a big old 180 in a reflection through the window. Spooky! She starts seeing ominous poster clues everywhere, and even hears a devilish voice coming through the subway speakers.
The next stop is the end of the line.
Then, all of a sudden, Julie appears and gets on the train too. And hey, what do you know? Kevin's here as well. This kind of coincidence can only mean bad news. And sure enough, thanks to a hungry rat, shit starts going motherfucking haywire again. Light warning for photosensitive viewers, I'll play this tone when it's safe to watch again. Because the second catastrophe in this 2-for-1 disaster deal we've got going is a flashy, screechy kill fest that sees Julie get taken out by some airborne metal and Kevin sucked out a window to a splattery death. To film this crash, which is kinda hard to see through the editing, they used miniature trains that they freaking slingshotted down a track. How fun is that? I'm always a fan of using miniatures in movies. When the subway trains finally come to a complete stop and the flashing lights end, Wendy is left the sole survivor surveying a service tunnel of death. Then she turns around to face another train coming down the track, which sends her screaming straight back out her eyeball. Whoa, Secret Iris subway. Yep, that was just another premonition. They're all still alive. And before we wrap this up, I've got to shout out Mary Elizabeth Winstead's devotion to acting in this movie. In all the behind the scenes stuff I watched, she seemed very earnest and serious about the craft. And her talent actually sort of backfired while they were shooting this new ending. After she spontaneously shed a tear during a faulty first take, James Wong decided that he really wanted another one for this shot.
I'm waiting for a tear.
But due to a change in the shooting schedule, she hadn't even prepared for this scene. And with the pressure on and everybody watching, it was hard for her to produce another tear on cue.
I'm sorry, I don't think it's gonna work now. You guys, I'm sorry, it's just...
Okay, cut.
Eventually, after 14 takes, she was able to make it happen, resulting in that very good-looking shot. Kevin realizes what Wendy's tear means, and he tries to pull the emergency cord, but it's too late. The movie cuts to black, and we hear crashing sounds. Now, this presented a real dilemma for me. I was going to just not count these kills, since we never get an official tally of the victims, and because it technically happens after the movie ends. But the more I thought about it, the more guilty I felt ignoring them. After all, these people seem pretty damn trapped on the subway train, so the accident is almost certainly going to take place. And, thanks to the premonition, which are always shown to come true, we do get visuals on at least some of the people killed here. And so, my decision is to just trust that Wendy's premonition actually takes place, and then, since I don't have an exact number given to me, just fucking purge it up and count all the bodies I see. With that in mind, the last kills of the movie begin with Julie, who, as we saw, got sideswiped by a flying metal wheel. Yep, sorry Wendy, it's rough. Then, again, as noted, Kevin is turned into strawberry shortcake between the subway cart and the wall. Yummy! After the subway crashes, I count a total of 12 more bodies, and allow me to break those down for you please. 3 are lying in the foreground right here, and what's funny is that if you brighten up a later shot of them, you'll see 2 of them moving. Not sure if that's bad background acting, or if they haven't quite died yet, but let's put them on the list anyway, they're pretty fun. One lady's hanging out a broken window there, that's gotta hurt, and a peek inside a subway cart shows us the bodies of Wendy's college friends Laura and Sean. Finally, a sweeping overhead shot that I also had to brighten up shows 6 additional bodies lying around. Great, all that leaves is Wendy, and since I'm trying to be internally consistent with these movies, I'm gonna count her death as well. Hit by a train in the subway tunnel. Man, what an endie for Wendy. How many kills was Death able to collect this time through, whether they were late or right on time? Let's find out and get to the numbers. 29 people died in Final Destination 3, and thanks to gamma correction and frame-by framing, I was able to discern that the victims included 15 men and 14 women, with both background kills and actual character kills pretty evenly divided. With a runtime of 93 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 3.21 minutes. Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill was a tough one to give out, but I'm gonna go with Aaron Ulmer's unfortunate adventure with a nail gun. I know lots of people love the tanning bed kills, and those are great too, but the jerky violence of that nail gun going off is a bit more impactful to me. Dull Machete for lamest kill will go to the 7 roller coaster victims who flew off the rails. All the individual deaths in this movie were cool, so I think I've just gotta give give this to those rail hopping kids. And for the Final Destination series, I'm giving out the Primo Premonition Award for the coolest death featured only in a vision. Honestly, not many options here, so I'll give it to Kevin, who's cut in half by a metal bar sticking out. And that's it. Final Destination 3 came out in 2006, and although I don't much care for it, it might be the most popular one among fans. That's fine, man, like what you want. Next week's sequel, though, is a movie that everyone collectively hates, so that's gonna be fun to talk about. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count. I want to thank some patrons like Gunnar Lawton, Brendan Copeland, Sarah Hughes, Robert Stull, Kyle Elrod, and Joseph Mitchell. Everyone asking how nice the fan is to have. It's not actually on when I'm filming. This is a mask. That means part of another shot was layered in over this shot. Same thing with the roller coaster. I can't have them going while I'm filming. They're too loud. Be good people.